Hey guys, hope y'all are doing well. At someone's request, I'm going to do a care sheet on the Poecilotheria metallica and the Avicularia purpurea. This right here is my baby Poecilotheria metallica, doing really well. This one molted recently, as you may recall from my last video where I compared my T. sturmii molt with the P. metallica molt. Looking nice. And of course still too little to see, or too young to really notice any blue right now. But they're actually quite easy to care for. With slings, I just put them in like this little deli cup thing. Now, I get the deli cups from either a restaurant, like if you go to a sit-down restaurant, sometimes you can ask if you have any of those little cups you put honey mustard in or ketchup or whatever. And they, sometimes they'll give you some. So you can do that, or you can just reuse the ones that the dealers send you when you order your teas. That's what I do anyway. But I think I have gotten some from a restaurant before. And of course you can find them online anywhere. But for slings, that's what I use these for. When pokies are tiny, they're more prone to stay closer to the ground, burrow a little bit more, but the older they get, the more likely they'll be more willing to become arboreal, which is what they are. But, in case it does get a mind to, I always put a little stick in there or something for it to climb on. But, yes, you do want to, especially for the older Poecilotheria, to have an arboreal setup. So that means you do not need a lot of substrate. However, I would give the pokies a little more substrate than you would some of the other arboreals because, like I said, pokies do have a habit of also digging tunnels. And so, that way you can give them the option. When you make your setup, give them the option to dig a tunnel or to climb up on cork bark, wood, whatever you have in there. So cork bark is excellent because they can go hide, like one of those tube cork bark ones are really good because they can have the choice to hide in the tube. It kind of gives them that burrowing sensation, but it also has them high up if they want to be. So you can do that. But with slings, of course, it's not as important to have them high up. I just gave them the option to put a little stick in there. But with slings, you need to definitely be on top of feeding them and watering them. Slings are just more fragile than your older tarantulas are. And of course, the more you feed your tarantula, the faster they will grow, which you may not like or you may not like, The disadvantage of them growing too fast is that they die sooner. It's just the way it goes. But the advantage is you can see them get to their larger size quicker, which a lot of people like to do. I don't have a lot of patience, so it is kind of hard for me to wait sometimes. But yes, you definitely need to keep pokies a little more on the humid side. So what I do is I just spray mist the enclosure. And keep in mind that plastic containers hold in moisture better than glass. So a lot of people use glass though because you could see your tea better, and it's just they look nicer in my opinion. But I use plastic, it's cheaper, and I can still look at my teas, whenever I want. So, but anyway, so yes, be on top of keeping you don't have to make the substrate sopping wet by any means. Just make sure it's a little on the damp side. So definitely make sure they have plenty of hydration, especially slings, and feeding as well, especially slings. So yes, as they get older, they will appreciate a more arboreal setup, but like I said, they like to burrow too, so just give them an opportunity to do both, which I've done here as well, even as a little sling. But like I said, slings are more into burrowing. But, yeah. Very simple, actually. Just as long as you stay on top of feeding and watering these teas, they'll thrive just fine. So and keep in mind that these teas, the pokies, are very fast and they can be defensive. However, they are more willing to run and hide than stand up and give you a threat posture. But they do have a terrible bite. So you definitely do not want to be bitten by a pokie. It's probably the tarantula I would want to least be bitten by in my collection is my Poecilotheria striata. She's already large enough to for her fangs to penetrate my skin noticeably and envenomate me certainly noticeably. So I definitely respect her. So there you have it. I mean, really easy to care for. Just, keep the humidity up, feed them. They're good. So with slings, this small, I don't put little water dishes in there because you don't want them to drown. So all I do is just be extra diligent and making sure there's water, where that they can kind of suck out of the substrate as well as on the sides of the enclosure. And sometimes I'll even like spray mist the top so it kind of simulates a little shower, a little dripping comes down. So I do that too. Isn't that cute? Look at that. Please be a girl, please. But yes. I will actually, I'm thinking about doing a feeding video really soon, so I'm sure this one will be eager to eat. You don't have to wait as long for them to recover from a molt when they're this young, like you would with the larger sizes. So, well, I hope that helps. I mean, there isn't a whole lot to say. I mean, he's so cute. Oh. Alright, let's move on to the next one. Here's my Avicularia purpurea. They definitely look different as slings than when they're adults. This spider will turn into a beautiful purple, a beautiful purple color. And you won't see the abdomen will look totally different too. So, but yes, gorgeous purple all over the tarantula. So that's something to look forward to if you like the color purple like I do. But you keep Avics very similar to the way you keep pokies. So what I'm about to say is not going to be much different. However, Avics are less likely to burrow in substrate than the pokies are. So you don't have to give them as much substrate as you would a pokie. But they are mostly arboreal for sure. Of course, as slings, as a sling, I've seen Avics, be up high a lot. Like actually, when I took the container in here, the Avic was on the stick right here. So the Avics definitely prefer to be higher up. And the annoying thing is though, is that if you have them in a little container like this for the slings, I got this probably at a dollar store or Walmart or something, I don't know. They have a habit of webbing the top of their lid, well, the bottom of the lid. And so when you open up the enclosure, then you kind of destroy their webbing a little bit. And they have a habit of doing that because they like to be really high up, even as babies. So their version of a burrow is their own webbing. They usually like to make their own tube webs. And sometimes Avics are hard to see because of that. And then others, it just, personalities vary, not only with defensiveness, but, with how much some like to hide more than others, So, but yeah, Avics really love to web their own, well, I guess you can call it a hassock or, not a hassock, what am I thinking, what do you call that? Hammock, that's what I'm looking for. They like to make their own web hammock. So, isn't that adorable? Aww. So yes, just like with the Pokie, as far as humidity, keep it up. Make sure that their substrate is damp enough, not soaking wet, but damp enough for them to drink off of, as well as, you know, if you want to make it easier on them, just, you know, have some water droplets on the edges there they can drink on. This one's too tiny to have a water dish again, so I have to be extra diligent in making sure that the substrate, which is cocoa fiber, by the way, is damp. So, yep. He's such a cutie. But yes, pretty much every single time I've looked in this container, this Avic is like up here on the top part of the side of the cup here, or it's on the stick. So this one definitely prefers to be up high. And I have an Avicularia, and that one did a whole bunch of webbing at the very top of the enclosure, which made it difficult to remove the lid a lot of times. But you just have to do it slowly and carefully. And by the way, if you ever transfer your teas in the bathroom, make sure you close the drain there, because, you know, it doesn't take much for these guys just to bolt like this one might do. See what I mean? Get back in there. And see, these little fellas also, they kind of leap about. So when they're startled, they are very fast. You know, they're arboreal. Arboreals are very fast. In addition, Avics just leap about. It's amazing to see them just do that. And they're very hard to catch because of that. So keep that in mind whenever you're transferring teas or just handling it. And by the way, Avics are typically docile. Notice I said the word typically. Like I said, personalities vary, but most Avic purpureas are docile. And they do not have a medically significant bite like the Pokie does. Unless, of course, like you're allergic to bites like some people are to bee stings, which could be dangerous. But, you know, so. Well, I hope that helps you out. As far as feeding them goes, I guess I didn't mention this with the Pokie. At this size, you can feed them mealworms. The only thing I don't like about mealworms is that they don't move around as much. Even after they've been out of the refrigerator for a while, they still don't move enough to attract the tea. So I don't like to feed mealworms on video because it's kind of boring. I like to give the tea something to chase. But, you know, superworms are more wiggly. So, but you don't put superworms in a refrigerator, by the way. You leave them out. Anyway, I feed slings, pinhead crickets. You can either maim the cricket to where the tea can, you know, still sense movement, but it's going to be easy for the tarantula to catch. Or you can completely kill the cricket if you want to, although they're not, you know, they will get it eventually usually, but on video, they don't always, you know, get it on camera because they don't immediately sense that, hey, this is something to eat because it's not moving, you know. So you can give them fruit flies as well. I've never had any fruit flies, so you know, I don't have any experience with that, but I know that they can eat those. This size sling, let's see, can probably take down a waxworm because they're pretty small. Again, waxworms I don't like to feed very much because they don't move around very much either, like the mealworms. So I just prefer to give them live crickets or maimed crickets, pinheads. Or if you want to give them a large cricket, make sure you pre-kill the cricket. Some people cut them in half or cut the head off and serve them in pieces. I personally think it's kind of gross. So I don't cut my crickets up in pieces. You know, I might squash them a little bit, like I said, to maim them, but you know, do whatever. You know, you never want to feed your slings too large of a prey, or the tea might end up being the prey. So Just remember that. So there you have it. Yeah, this size right here could take down a mealworm easily. But definitely not a superworm. So, not till they get to be about juvie size. Well, I've seen some pretty small superworms before, so I've been able to feed some of my juvies with the smaller superworms. They put up a fight, but with all the wiggling. Oh, there you go again. Get back in there. Silly. Wants to be adventurous. Yep. Alright, well, I've rambled enough. I'm sorry I talked your ear off, but I hope this helps. If you have any questions, just ask. You know, easy, just keep them hydrated and fed, and it's good. Alright. Stay tuned for a feeding video, hopefully Friday or Saturday. Alright, thanks guys. One more thing I forgot to mention, I think, is when you make your enclosures for your teas, well, of course, the critter keepers right here already come with plenty of ventilation. As you can see, here's the critter keepers. But, you know, the boxes that you buy from dollar stores or Walmart or wherever, or these little deli cup type things, don't forget to put holes in them. I mean, to some people it'd be like, well, duh. But, you know, you could easily forget that. So yes, what I usually do is I don't have one of those glue, what do you call those, hot gun things, or I don't remember what you call them. But what I usually do is put a nail on the stove and heat up the nail really hot, and then I pick up the nail with tongs, and then I just stick it up to the enclosure, and it puts holes in the plastic. So that's usually how I do it. But teas over there, teas here, teas there. So yes, this is my entire collection. Can't see all of them over there, but yeah, they're back there. Yep. So yes, don't forget your holes. They do need to breathe. Even though their metabolism is very slow, they still need to breathe. So don't forget the holes. Alright, thanks.